NBA playoffs. The playoffs are officially, we got game one in the books across the board. It was a really fun weekend of NBA basketball. Fun Thursday and Friday as well. Welcome back to Press Play Action. We're going to be going through each and every game one, the upsets, the ones that were kind of chalky, and the thrillers. We had a little bit of everything, but first, and I didn't expect to lead off with this because this just kind of popped up out of nowhere. I'm not a big fan of the whole Skip Bayless thing. I think you guys probably know why, and might be the same. But on Undisputed, they just out of nowhere called up Julio Jones and said, "Hey man, are you out of Atlanta? Do you want to play for the Dallas Cowboys? What's your deal? What are you going to be doing?" And Julio Jones picked up and just said, "Yeah, no, I'm out of there. I don't want to be a member of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't really want to play for the Dallas Cowboys either, but I'm definitely out of Atlanta." That is not something that I think I've ever seen before on live TV. It was very interesting to watch. It was really funny for him to come out and just say, "Yeah, no, I don't want to play for Dallas. They're not going to win anything." I don't think he knew he was live. And that might actually be illegal if he didn't know he was live, if no one told him about it, that they were recording and all that. That's actually illegal, and that could lead to some penalties or something if Julio Jones wasn't aware of it, didn't consent to all that. I've never seen that before. So I had to lead off with that because that was just a strange, out of left field situation that I didn't see. I know he wanted out of Atlanta, and there was a chance that they might trade him in the offseason. But for him to just come out like that, Fox should be glad he didn't get, full-on expletive on everybody. But, man, he was talking like somebody that did not know he was live. It was fun to watch, but a little bit uncomfortable if you're Julio Jones' agent or something, and it's not something that was planned at all. We'll see how this goes, but yeah, interesting situation that just happened a few minutes ago. Julio Jones probably on the move. I'd like to see him in Tennessee because they have no weapons outside of A.J. Brown in the passing game. They didn't pick a receiver in the first round. They took Dez Fitzpatrick, I want to say in round 3 or 4, but they don't have anybody that can really step in. Josh Reynolds, a nice slot receiver, but other than that, no real threat on the outside apart from A.J. Brown. And Julio Jones would be a really good addition to the Tennessee Titans, but who knows? Maybe New England, maybe, I don't think Dallas is loaded enough at receiver. That's not a problem for them. Maybe Baltimore. Indianapolis would be a good one. If he goes to Kansas City, let's just cancel the league, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, let's get to the NBA. The big weekend. Game ones across the board, 8 finals. Where do we start things off? Well, let's go in order of the games of the weekend. First game, and we're not going to do the play-in games. We know what happened there. Warriors, disappointing, but the Grizzlies, they deserve to be in the playoffs, and I think they definitely showed that last night. But we'll come back to the Memphis Grizzlies, trust me. We're going to start things off with the Milwaukee Bucks getting the win over the Miami Heat. Chris Middleton, the game-winning shot in overtime. Final score 109-107. The Milwaukee Bucks were tested in this one, guys. The Milwaukee Bucks, they had to fight, scratch, and claw in a game that saw the Miami Heat make 23 pointers and still end up with the loss. Drew Holiday was really the big X factor for me in this game. The Heat and the Bucks were the two teams that were really jockeying for his services when the Pelicans were looking into trading him. The Bucks got him. 20 points, 11 rebounds, but it was his defensive tenacity that really made the difference for the Bucks. He was making plays on defense late in the game that Eric Bledsoe just wouldn't have been able to make and didn't make late in postseason games in years past. Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, they made 12 three-pointers. Duncan Robinson, first points of the game, and he just came out firing and seemed pretty automatic. But who wasn't automatic in this game? Got some stats for you here. Jimmy Butler, a guy that I said, if he would have made first-team All-NBA, wouldn't be mad about it. 4 for 22. Bam Adebayo, 4 for 15. And Tyler Hero went 2 for 10. Those guys all need to be better going forward in this series, but it does give me hope for the Miami Heat. I think my big takeaway from this series is don't sleep on Miami. They could win this series. Their best players did not play well. Yeah, Jimmy Butler had the big shot to get the Miami Heat into overtime, but it was a 4 for 22 type of game. Yes, he was involved in defense, getting his teammates involved. He didn't have a bad game, but from the field, 4 for 22, horribly inefficient, and not what we've become accustomed to seeing Jimmy Butler do on the court. He needs to be better, and I think he will be better. You have to imagine he'll be better than that. You have to imagine Tyler Hero will play better. He was a hero, no pun intended, in last postseason. You saw him have some big games. They need that. Maybe not the 30-point type thing, but certainly not 2 for 10. But my big thing for the Heat, the big one that I'm going, you need to play better, and if you do, and I expect you to, the Heat really could win this thing. That is my number 3 LVP of the weekend, Bam Adebayo. This guy was on fire in the regular season, and he kind of turned to Draymond Green late in the game where he wasn't even looking at the basket. He just didn't seem all that involved, and Adebayo can be a guy that takes over games late. I don't know why he shied away from making plays towards really the whole game, but definitely the fourth quarter and in overtime. They get better play out of him. The stars did not shine bright for the Miami Heat, and it was still a 2-point overtime loss where they went 20 of 50 from 3. A lot of three-pointers, but they were going down for Miami. Burn those uniforms, by the way. The Heat really showed that last year wasn't a fluke. And if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan, yeah, got the win, but I'm still terrified of how this game went because it wasn't Miami's best, and they still almost pulled it out. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 6 of 13 from the free throw line, wasn't his best. The end of the game, he kind of did what we've become accustomed to seeing Giannis do in the postseason, which is not MVP style of play. Chris Middleton had to make the big plays. Drew Holiday had to make the big plays. Giannis got to be better. The Heat. I left really thinking that the Heat could take this one. And I know the Bucks won, and that's what matters. But just watching the game, the Heat looked like they were more willing to play that down dirty style. Drew Holiday, the difference maker in this one. Yeah, Middleton made the game-winning shot, and Middleton's the guy that I trust the most on Milwaukee when the clock is running low and you need points. That's the guy I want with the ball in his hands, and if anything, that's a discredit to Giannis. And I really wish Giannis could bring it, that physical style, late in games, in the postseason too, because It's basically entering Hack-a-Shaq territory, and the Heat were nearly rewarded with a victory for that exact style of approach. All right, next up, we have the Mavericks and the Clippers. And this guy right here, Luka Doncic, there were times where it seemed like he was the only guy on the court. 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists. However, the Mavericks were able to get the 113-103 win, not just because Luka Doncic was playing fantastic basketball. The teammates came to help. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 21 points, Dorian Finney-Smith had 18 points on 9 shots. When Luka Doncic is in trouble and needs someone to pass out to, those guys got the job done. Jalen Brunson played really well off the bench too. The Mavericks, the supporting cast, excluding one, really played well for Dallas. And that's why the Mavericks were able to distance themselves from the Clippers in the second quarter, and then early in the fourth, I want to say, really start to, okay, we're going to put the game away. We're not going to let them get back. We're going to keep this at a 9, 10, 11-point game and keep it there because those guys made timely shots. However, I really want to see Kristaps Porzingis. I want him to realize that he's 7'2". You know, I want him to realize I'm 7'2" and no one on the Clippers can really take me inside. Because the second that he remembers I'm big as hell, the Clippers are going to have a real problem on their hands. They already have some issues, but Porzingis is really helping him out by settling for a lot of mid-range jumpers. And he's a good mid-range 2 shooter. But if he takes somebody inside, there's no one on the Clippers that can really hang with him. Sure, Ibaka, but Ibaka's not really getting those minutes right now. Force them to make that adjustment around Porzingis, and it'll open up the guys on the outside that have really been showing out, at least in Game 1, in Finney-Smith, Hardaway, and obviously Luka Doncic, who, whenever it wasn't Kawhi Leonard on him, it was essentially barbecue chicken. I'm sitting there the whole time going, Clippers, Kawhi is one of the best defensive players of the last 15 years. Why is he not on Luka exclusively? Revis Island should be the game plan for Luka and Kawhi. Put him on an island, make him work. This Marcus Morris crap, it's not going to cut it. Marcus Morris played terribly. Offensively, defensively, the New York Knicks cast-offs in this game, not named Tim Hardaway Jr., Morris, Porzingis, did not get it done. And everybody wants to make playoff P jokes. Playoff P brought it in the fourth quarter. He started out 1 of 7, if not 1 of 8, but he finished 7 for 11. And in the fourth quarter, Kawhi kind of started to fade away after playing a really good 3 quarters and ending Maxi Kleber's life. Paul George was the guy that kept them from being down 15-16 and having to put in the reserves with 6 minutes to play. He was the one that kept him in it. And we can make the playoff P jokes. He certainly earned it last year. Terrible. But in the fourth quarter of this game, he was the one giving them somewhat of a fighting chance. If only defensively, they could back it up. Because the Mavericks surely can't expect Finney-Smith and Tim Hardaway Jr. to be this efficient all the time. But the Clippers defense was not making it too terribly tough on them. And for a Clippers team that when they assembled last year, the big thing was, who's going to score on them? Everybody. Jamal Murray, Dorian Finney-Smith, name them. I'm concerned about the Clippers in this series. Dallas showed that they have pieces around Luka that can make plays, and the Clippers didn't really seem too keen on stopping it. This was the one Western Conference series, well, apart from Jazz, once it became Jazz Grizzlies, this was the one Western Conference series I felt maybe the best about with the Clippers. Game 1, I think there's a lot of series where don't read too deep into the game. We'll get to those later, and I think you kind of know what's coming. I would read into this one. The Dallas Mavericks have a legitimate chance of moving on in this series, and what a disappointment for the Clippers that would be. Kawhi Leonard might be looking in other directions, and this would be a severe dark mark on Paul George's legacy, as if he doesn't have enough of those. Moving on, Brooklyn and Boston. The Nets getting the win 104-93. This was a rough start for the Brooklyn Nets, not going to lie to you. They went 8 of 34 from 3. The big three of Durant, Irving, and James Harden went 0 of 11 from beyond the arc in the first half. The Celtics didn't look like they were doing anything too wild and crazy. The Nets were just missing shots. The Celtics weren't playing particularly well either. It was a game where no one really found their footing until the second half when the Nets started playing a little bit better. And again, let's go right back. This is the guy I credit with it. Kyrie Irving, 29 points, 11 of 20 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. But when he really started to drive inside, get to the free throw line, Kyrie Irving can make magic around the rim. And I thought that when he was really going, that's when the Nets took it from a 3-4 point game, 9, 10, 11, and then into the mid-teens. In the start of the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter, really distanced themselves from Boston. Kevin Durant, he had 32 points, 12 rebounds, but 1 of 8 from 3. None of the big three had a good shooting night. Joe Harris didn't have a particularly good shooting night either, but they had good looks. I have to think that Brooklyn's going to be making those later in the series. And this just tells me Boston's not up to snuff right now. That was my biggest takeaway from this particular game, is that Boston, they need Jaylen Brown. They need more of a bench scoring presence that they used to have 2-3 years ago. Terry Rozier, Marcus Morris. They need more. God, I just did a Marcus Morris positive. Seems really crazy coming after this game. But Boston's bench was, except for Robert Williams. Robert Williams was the inside presence Boston has missed a lot this season. 11 points, 9 rebounds, or rather, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 9 blocks. I almost want to give him the triple-double just on principle, but can't quite get there. He was a force the entire game. Can't say that about Jason Tatum or Kemba Walker. Jason Tatum, big thing this year, he's been wildly inconsistent. He had 22 points, but he was 6 of 20 shooting, and it was a lot of the same shots that went in against Washington. They weren't going in against Brooklyn. And then Kemba Walker, if you look at his stat line, 15 points on 5 of 16 shooting. That's bad. No, he was so much worse. Because he had 8 points of that in the last 2 minutes when nothing mattered. The only thing Kemba was trying to do is get the Celtics to cover the spread, and hey, couldn't quite do that. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. Kemba Walker, awful game. The complete opposite from Kemba and Jason Tatum that we got against Washington. But that's the difference between going against a 2 seed and a play-in game. I know Brooklyn's not the most known for their defense, but Washington wasn't really either. Got to hit those shots. But Brooklyn wasn't hitting them either, and they still won by 10. This is going to be rough, and this could be, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. It could be. Brooklyn had one of the worst games they could have and still won by double digits. Bad news for Boston. I think it's one. They missed Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart and Evan Fournier are not the secondary options. Smart defensively, he adds a lot. Evan Fournier was a weird off-season, or rather in-season acquisition. Wasn't a big fan of it then, and it hasn't really paid dividends so far in this series. Next up, Portland Trailblazers and the Denver Nuggets. 102-109. Portland with the win. Damian Lillard, 34 points, 13 assists. Carmelo Anthony and Anthony Simons were big bench presences. They had a big bench presence on this particular night. Carmelo, 18 points, 4 of 8 from 3 off the bench. Anthony Simons went 4 of 5 from 3 off the bench. The team as a whole, very similar shooting night to the Miami Heat. 19 of 40 from beyond the arc, shooting the deep ball. Really worked out for the Portland Trailblazers. They let Nikola Jokic do what Jokic was going to do. He had 34 points, 16 boards, but he only had 1 assist. And that's a really low number for somebody that we've grown to see getting a lot of triple-doubles. Now, even Michael Porter Jr. had a good night. Michael Porter Jr., 25 points, perfect from 2. 11 of 11 from 2. The problem was he went 1 of 10 from 3, and again, he took 10 3-pointers. 10. He only made 1. Terrible night from beyond the arc for the really the Denver Nuggets as a whole, because the backcourt didn't give Denver a whole lot. Whether you have Facundo, Campazzo, Austin Rivers, Monte Morris needs to be on the court more often for Denver. I think he's their biggest offensive threat, and he's certainly a better defender than Campazzo, who, it's just, too little for Damian Lillard. He's 5'10" and, 31? Damian Lillard on Campazzo, or rather Campazzo on Lillard, barbecue chicken all night long. All night long. Denver, they really missed Jamal Murray in this series. This game particularly is why everyone kind of leaned towards Portland in this series. And why, as soon as Jamal Murray got diagnosed with a torn ACL, people wavered off Denver. But Denver's like, no, we had a really good record without him. Yeah, we're talking about the postseason. And yeah, you missed Jamal Murray. You missed Jamal Murray. He was a big time. You remember the bubble last year. Big shot maker in the playoffs. They don't have that right now. Aaron Gordon, I don't know if he knows he has teammates. Every time he gets the ball, he's putting up a shot. You can have the entire country of Guatemala on Aaron Gordon in the paint. Aaron Gordon's still going to shoot the ball. And he's probably going to miss it. But he's not passing it. That's not Aaron Gordon's style. Portland could sweep Denver. I would not be shocked. This is a matchup of, Portland's got more depth. They shoot better. Jokic, let him get his points. But, hey, the supporting cast on Denver, not getting it done, especially defensively, because Damian Lillard was cooking. And he missed quite a few open looks. He's not going to do that games 2, 3, 4. He's not going to miss some of the looks that he missed. Still had a great night, though. Carmelo, why were you booing Carmelo, Denver? Why were you booing? Carmelo Anthony made the Denver Nuggets relevant again. And you boo him. Why? I don't get it. He sure made you look stupid because you couldn't defend him. And he was hitting everything in the first half. Really bad effort from Denver. I was not impressed. They missed Jamal Murray like crazy. They got rid of a lot of their depth. They're not a deep team, which is weird to me because they have guys like Paul Millsap and Monte Morris off the bench. But when I watch the game, I'm thinking, there's no depth to this team. And maybe it's just the backcourt that I'm looking at and going, Campazzo and Austin Rivers. That's what we're trotting out here today against Lillard and McCollum. God, this is going to be a quick series. And watching the game, I felt vindicated because Portland really just ran by them. So I just don't think Denver has the guys to be able, around Jokic. Porter, less threes. I know he can make some threes, but I think his game is, playmaker, slasher, get to the basket, get to the free throw line. That's what I'd much rather see him doing than tossing up a bunch of threes. He's not going to go 1 of 10 every game. I don't think he's going to go 1 for 10 again this series. But if Denver doesn't get somebody to defend the three-point line, this series is going to be very quick, and I just don't think they have the guys to be able to match up with Portland, given their injuries and their depth. All right, Philadelphia 76ers and the Washington Wizards. We're going to take a look right here at the guy that I would say was the second best player in all of the game ones. Get a good look at him. It surprises me as much as it surprises you. And I'll be back in about 10 seconds to talk about this young man here. All right. The Philadelphia 76ers getting the win over the Washington Wizards, 125-118. And I thought the second best player in all of the playoffs this weekend was Tobias freaking Harris. 37 points on 15 of 29 shooting. He carried the Sixers when it seemed like nobody else was able to score. Joel Embiid got into some early foul trouble. He kept Philadelphia afloat in the second quarter when Embiid, I want to say he had 3 fouls with like 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. He was out. Harris put the team on his back, got the job done. But when Embiid came back in, and I thought they had him on the bench for a little bit too long in the second half, but it worked out. 30 points on 9 of 16 shooting, and Embiid looked like the type of player that can carry the Philadelphia 76ers to a title. And if Tobias Harris is going to play like this, the Sixers will definitely be winning the NBA Finals. I don't expect Tobias to be doing this every game, but if they can get this brand of Tobias Harris, who hits open shots, can get open and make plays when other people aren't, that's something the Sixers have lacked in previous years, is the Tobias Harris production. They have not been getting that. Last postseason, this dude was a straight-up bum. Not this time around. Not this time around at all. Ben Simmons, 15 rebounds, 15 assists, 6 points. Didn't quite have the defensive presence that he's told everybody that he has, and he does have it. It just wasn't here in this game. Russell Westbrook, 16 points. Bradley Beal had a great game. 33 points, 10 boards. The Wizards bench really came to play. They got 38 bench points. The other starters, Len, Hachimura, they played well. This was probably the best game the Wizards could have asked for. Embiid gets into foul trouble early. Simmons isn't quite locking down, and he's also not scoring. And the Sixers still won by 7 points. This tells me again, this was the Wizards' best effort, their best chance. And they didn't have nearly enough. I think this could be a sweep after watching this game. I know the Sixers didn't cover. They looked like they were in trouble for a good bit of the game, but the fact that this many things went right for the Washington Wizards and they weren't able to turn that into a Game 1 victory, I just don't think this many things, they're not going to get the bounces that they did in this game again. Really encouraged by the Sixers. Tobias Harris, again, fantastic game. I don't know if he's going to match it at any point in this postseason, but a good tone setter. Hopefully he gets some confidence going. Really impressed with the Sixers' effort against the Wizards. And the Wizards, again, they're an 8 seed. They have talent, but they're just overmatched in this particular 1-8 matchup. Sixers look good, and I think this will be a quick series. All right, the MVP of this entire weekend, I'm going to bestow upon a man who had played 0 postseason games coming into yesterday. And that is Devin Booker. Yeah, he's my damn thumbnail. Do you think I'm not going to talk about this guy extensively and with passion? The Suns win 99-90 in a game where the Lakers looked flat. Devin Booker, 34 points, 13 of 26 shooting, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Speaking of 8, DeAndre Ayton, 8 today, or rather yesterday. 21 points, 16 boards, 10 of 11 from the field. Chris Paul, 7 points, 8 assists. He was in and out all game, but he still played 36 minutes, so it's not like they missed him a ton on the court. The Phoenix Suns looked like a team that was amped, ready to go. The Los Angeles Lakers looked flat, uninterested. LeBron James needs to stop watching so much damn soccer. This dude, it's really getting annoying. And I love LeBron. Best player of my lifetime. But he really needs to stop selling these fouls like he's Cristiano Ronaldo or something. It is ridiculous. It's too much. Lakers were out-rebounded 47-33 by Phoenix, and they shot 26% from 3. They had a lot of late in the shot clock. I'm just going to put this up because I have to looks. They didn't move the ball particularly well. But let's get back to the man of the hour, Devin Booker, Mr. Kendall Jenner himself. This guy was good early in the game, and he just continued to get better. Whenever they needed a look to, the Lakers would inch back to be, 6, 7, 5-point game, Devin Booker would make a shot, and all the momentum would just go right back to Phoenix. This dude was Clutch McGee over here. He, again, got better throughout the game. You expect with some of these guys, first playoff action, and they start out really good. Yeah, but you're going to fade once it gets to the fourth quarter. You're playing the tested champion team with the star players. Devin Booker did not do that whatsoever. Really impressed by him and Ayton in this game. But we have to get to this game had the number 1 MVP and it also had the number 1 LVP. I think you know who this is. They're calling him A. Disney, Anthony Davis. He was disinterested as all hell in this game. 13.7 rebounds, 5 of 16 from the field, and he let DeAndre Ayton just completely bully him. And that's when he wanted to be bullied. For most of the game, Anthony Davis was just chilling near the three-point line, offense, defense, not moving around a whole lot. Just seemed so disengaged. When Anthony Davis doesn't hit shots early, I've noticed he tends to do that. He just kind of falls back and just kind of waits for things to happen. And this game particularly, it was very clear. He kind of in the fourth quarter, he got one shot to fall, and it's like, all right, I'm going to try on defense again. But then Devin Booker would hit a shot, he'd miss a shot, and he would just fall back into the background again. Very disappointing effort from Anthony Davis. LeBron James, I'm not going to say he played badly, but it wasn't a good LeBron James playoff game. In fact, it was kind of, for LeBron standards, it was a bad playoff game. But I'm also not going to overreact to this game. I kind of thought they might lose this game because LeBron James tends to do this in game ones of series. I really wish he didn't, but he kind of feels out, all right, how are they going to play this? How are they going to run their offense? Who's the priority here? And how are they going to defend me? How are they going to defend Davis? The paint, how are they going to... He kind of just observes everything. First game's always been more of an observation for LeBron James, and I really don't like it. It drives me insane. But you can go back to so many other play. Do you remember a few years ago when the Cavs lost to the Pacers in Game 1? And they lost by like 40. It was a shellacking, terrible game for the Cavs. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, the sky is falling." And then they win the series. LeBron James looks like Jesus on the basketball court for the rest of the playoffs. That was the 2018 season. By the way, LeBron James never really seemed to observe against Toronto for whatever. That's the one team he never really observed. And in the finals, he doesn't really do that either. But Toronto in the finals, that's it. Every other game, it's especially earlier in the playoffs, it's let me feel this out, see what the matchups are, get a better feel for things. I just don't get it. But I'm also not going to shift my playoff pick. I still think the Lakers are going to win this series. I think the Suns aren't messing around. They're a legitimate team, and Lakers might have to win it in 7, go on the home court of the Phoenix Suns and win the series. I think they can. Suns met the moment. The Lakers didn't. But I also don't think the Lakers they looked horrible. Lost by 9, but we know how LeBron is in Game 1, and until this doesn't work, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Some people might not, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, if Game 2 they come out looking like this, then I'll be worried. But LeBron in Game 1's, let's not overreact too much. But a good win for the Phoenix Suns nonetheless. Do I have to talk about this? I don't want to. My number 3 MVP for the weekend is this guy who I do not like. I used to. And maybe I'll like him once this series is over, or maybe I'll just hate him for the rest of my life. That's Trae Young. Hawks winning 107-105. Trae Young with the game-winning shot with 0.9 seconds, 32 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds from the young Atlanta Hawks star. Alec Burks led the way for the Knicks off the bench with 27 points. Not a good day for Julius Randle. 15 points, 12 boards, but 6 of 23 shooting. Let's get the first thing out of the way. Madison Square Garden was electric, and I really missed playoff atmospheres with fans, for one. But I missed Madison Square Garden playoff atmosphere. It's been a while since we've seen that, and it was something truly special. Those fans deserved to go home happier than they did. Tom Thibodeau, I feel like retracting my whole I give you Coach of the Year, even though I don't think he's going to win. I think it'll be Monty Williams. Monty Williams should get my vote now, because why did you bring Frank Ntilikina, who's been sitting on his ass all day, bust McGee over here? Why did you bring him in? Hey, I know you're cold. You haven't played all game. Go defend the best player on the opposing team who's probably going to get this shot in the last seconds of the game. Of course he's going to blow it. Why was that the coaching decision? I do not get that at all. As soon as I saw Ntilikina was out there to guard Trae Young, I knew it was going to happen, and I just hoped it would come with a little bit of time left for the New York Knicks to draw up a play. And the play was stupid. It was a stupid, stupid play. The Hawks looked good. Trae Young looked excellent. Lou Williams in the third quarter really saved the Hawks here, though. Let's keep that in mind. The Knicks were up 7-8 points, and they were threatening to pull away. Lou Williams hit some timely shots to keep the Hawks in the game around. So the fourth quarter, Trae Young could do his thing. Bogdanovich making some big shots. The Hawks stepped up when they needed to. The Knicks did for a large part of the game, too. Alec Burks, clutch. Derrick Rose, just absolutely great to see him hitting some of the shots that he hit. But for the Knicks, R.J. Barrett needs to be better. I know he ended a life. I think it was Bogdanovich. Although Bogdanovich was clearly brought back to life in the fourth quarter. Big dunk. As far as the jump shots go, R.J. Barrett, not hitting them. But Julius Randle needs to be better for the New York Knicks to win this series. He's the star player. He's the one that got him here. He got you to the dance. Has to be better. I would give him an LVP thingy, but again, there's only 3. And there's one up here that's clearly one of them for me. Consider him 4. He needed to be a lot better for the New York Knicks to win this game. Hawks have all the momentum here. This is the type of win that could carry you the whole series. We have to see how the Knicks react. But the Hawks stripped the soul out of New York. Trae Young met the moment and surpassed it in his first ever playoff game. Got to give him credit for that. Not going to give him love, though, because he did it to my Knicks. All right. This guy could have easily been one of the MVPs of the weekend, though. And if you're counting the play-in games, he certainly was. That's Dillon Brooks of the Memphis Grizzlies. He had 31 points, 13 of 26 shooting. Ja Morant had 26 points. And the Jazz just looked out of sync. They looked like a team that was told hours before the game, hey, your star player that we expected to be on the court isn't going to be here. They had no Donovan Mitchell. Jordan Clarkson went 5 of 16. They went 12 of 47 from 3. But my number 3 LVP, I'm sorry, I love you, but Mike Conley might have been working some inside job shit for the Memphis Grizzlies. He went 6 of 18, and defensively, Dillon Brooks just toasted him. Toasted him. Whether it was Brooks, Morant, whoever it was, Mike Conley was not the defensive consummate professional. That's not really the right word, but he wasn't the defensive stalwart that we've seen in the past when he was part of the Grindhouse. Grindhouse clearly is just a Memphis thing because Dillon Brooks has been bringing it defensively this series. Donovan Mitchell, if he's not at full strength, can't return. The Grizzlies could win the series. And this was a series that I said after Memphis won over Golden State, okay, so Utah's sweeping this. I also thought they'd have Donovan Mitchell back. They need him. They need him. They have no backcourt. Yeah, Clarkson, Conley, those aren't the backcourt star players that you need. Dillon Brooks, I mean, if you didn't really know about this guy going into the playoffs, you know about him now, and you better continue to learn. Brooks, Morant, for their first playoff, there's been a lot of guys where the first playoff action they get, and maybe it's game one, and it's going to come back around. But these guys making their debuts really done a solid job. Really done a solid job. Utah needs Donovan Mitchell back, and apparently he was pissed that he wasn't playing in this game against the Memphis Grizzlies. And yeah, I see why. The Jazz looked like a team that had game planned all week to have Donovan Mitchell and then just didn't. So you lose to Memphis game one. They have all the momentum. They're playing better defensively. Grizzlies are going to make a fight out of this thing, and it's going to be a rock fight. This is not going to be clean, just the way that Memphis wants it, and it's really, really fun to watch. I've had a blast watching the Memphis Grizzlies these last few days, especially Dillon Brooks. He's earned my respect for life. All right, well, that'll wrap things up for the recap of Game 1. We have some games coming up tonight. What do we have tonight? Heat, Bucks, and Trailblazers, Nuggets. I think the Heat and the road teams win tonight. I think the Heat and Portland win. That's my expectation, at least. So, and really quickly, before I get off here, watch this movie this weekend. Army of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder. This one's on Netflix. It's a movie about Dave Bautista leading this group of mercenaries, and we're just badasses in general, I suppose. Maybe mercenary is the wrong word. And they're going to try to steal some money before a bomb goes off in Las Vegas. And by the way, it's in the zombie apocalypse. It's a fun movie. It's a violent movie. If you're not into that kind of thing, stay away from it. Dave Bautista's really good in it. It's 2.5 hours long, which is way too long for this type of thing. The first hour of this movie could really be condensed. It's a lot of backstory that doesn't really lead to a whole lot. It could have been cut in half, honestly. But once you get past that hour, I want to say 105 mark. Yeah, it's a lot of backstory and stuff you don't need. Once you get to the 105 mark, things really kick into high gear and you get that zombie action, and it's really fun. I'd recommend checking this out if you're a zombie person, if you like the whole, if the bloody violence and all that doesn't disturb you, this is going to work for you. Again, directed by that man in the middle there, Zack Snyder. Justice League, well, his Justice League that just came out on HBO Max, which is also incredibly way too long. Man of Steel, Watchmen, 300, Dawn of the Dead. He's a director. Sucker Punch, which is just horrible in every single possible way. He's a director who has his hits and misses, and I don't really know if I'm going to put this in either category. The first hour really bored the hell out of me. Not going to lie. First hour really bored the hell out of me. Second hour and a half brought me back. There was some really good action. Most of the characters I did really like. I think I'd give it a B overall. This isn't going to be a terribly long review because I got to be honest, with movie theaters coming back, in this week with A Quiet Place Part 2 and Cruella coming out, there's stuff on the schedule every week now. It's not, we're going to go a week or two without something big coming out. We have things that are, the summer movie season and movie theaters in general, life, it's coming back. And so Netflix movies are kind of what I've been doing for over a year now, and I can't lie, it's kind of tough to be excited for Netflix movies when the big screen experience is about to be back with two movies I am pumped to see, with A Quiet Place Part 2 and Cruella. So if it seems like I'm kind of low energy about Army of the Dead, it's kind of because I am. Because I'm ready to be, I've been back in the theater, but I'm ready to be continuously back in the theater, looking forward to something each and every week. That's what I really want. I'm pumped for it. It's coming back, and I'm going to have reviews of A Quiet Place Part 2 and Cruella this week. Pumped for it. I'm actually getting to see A Quiet Place Part 2 early. I'm getting to see it Wednesday night. Going to have a review for that movie. I might do a review of the first one as well, because that's just such a great movie. I love that one so much. Quiet Place Part 2 and Cruella coming out this week. NBA playoff action. So much fun. Keep it right here. Just love it. Love this time of the year. Things are coming back. It's exciting. Hockey. I'm not a big hockey person, but the hockey this weekend was interesting. The Hurricanes had 2 straight overtime games. Didn't win either of them. Come on, Canes. Got to root for the local teams. Sports are back. Things are coming back. It's exciting. It's fun. I love it. Yeah. It's going to be plenty more coming throughout the week. Oh, also, my best and worst hit songs of 2011 podcast. I'm scripting that out. I'm not doing it off the cuff like I do these shows. I have a rundown for these shows. I'm scripting that one, and I'm doing it only in audio form because YouTube's fair use law is kind of a joke. They don't abide by it, so I'm going to go more there so I can be more creative with it and do the things I actually really want to do with the music. It'll be a lot more fun. That's coming later this week as well, so keep your eye out for it. Yeah, fun time to be a fan of sports and entertainment.